Every team has its weak link. There's Winston, Lisa, Pippin, Howie from the Backstreet Boys, and then there's Captain America, the Sentinel of Liberty, the Star-Spangled Avenger, or, as his mama called him, plain old Stephen Grant Rogers. He's a living legend, but has anyone stopped to ask if he's fully qualified to be part of a team like the Avengers? I mean, probably. There's content on almost everything these days, right? We all know super spies like Hawkeye and Widow are out of their element among demigods, rage monsters, and advanced AI, but no one ever asked this question about Steve. And by no one, I mean there's almost certainly 10 other videos like this already. Now, before you put the caps lock on and give us what for, we're simply exploring an idea here. You know, implementing some independent thought. So feel free to enjoy this video even if you don't agree with it. Just so we're clear, we're discussing the MCU version of Cap. So, with all that out of the way, does Steve really justify his place among Earth's mightiest heroes?
Let's start at the beginning. Steve's a 90-pound weakling, unsuited for the horrors of war, but within his pigeon chest beats the heart of a true hero. His willingness to sacrifice himself for the greater good, and his dislike for bullies, gets him the gig as the test subject for a totally untried, non-FDA approved formula provided by an ex-Nazi. Wow, he really is brave. Fortunately, the serum works a treat and Steve is transformed into an Aryan wet dream. Quick side note on this super soldier serum malarkey. Is no one worried that there could be unforeseen outcomes? Like, does the formula have an expiry date? Might Steve deflate mid-battle like a roided up Tweety Pie? Thankfully, there have been no untoward effects so far, so we'll give him a pass here. And Steve's suitably strong, being shown to manhandle a helicopter, and most recently, block an omnipotent purple spaceman, though there's almost certainly some trickery involved here. MCU Steve is indeed a tough dude, having gone toe-to-toe with a suited-up Tony Stark, though this was more of a tag team effort between him and Bucky, which, let's be fair, is in stark contrast to that time he took on Ultron single-handedly. Do Steve's powers vary from situation to situation? Is he a bit of a Gary Stu?
Which brings us to his training. Like most heroes, Cap knows how to take a beating. He's had some practice, but there's more to being a hero. You also have to know how to throw a punch, and we don't really see Steve learning how. Obviously the super strength helps, but we see him pull off some outlandish shit later on in the MCU. There's a lot of time off screen, so presumably he's received more training by the time the Winter Soldier rolls around, but clearly a lot happens before that. He of course gets the basic military training available to any falsely conscripted man in the 40s, which mostly consists of running, climbing, and jumping on dug grenades. So when exactly does he learn this ninjutsu? Now, we can all relate to learning on the job, and Steve is no different. But accidentally sending Janice in accounting the wrong email attachment is a little bit different to taking on the might of Hydra. And we're beginning to touch on Cap's leadership here too. The events of Captain America the First Avenger happen over approximately 2 years, during which time he's used as a propaganda tool, breaks off, and then assumes control of the Howling Commandos. Fast forward a couple of centuries, and Cap's now making decisions for the world's premier super team. Nah, not the Justice League. So, did Steve get a Matrix-style download after being defrosted? He's basically an intern who's been promoted to CEO overnight.
Comparing Cap to his non-powered teammates, there's clearly a difference in experience and training. Hawkeye has honed his shooting precision to the extent of being able to hit his target without even looking. Widow, meanwhile, made the ultimate sacrifice at band camp, which, sadly for her, didn't involve the use of a flute. Joking aside, the pair have seen some shit. Then there's Nick Fury, who admittedly sees a lot less. But this guy is so devious, even his bad eye has top level clearance. It could be argued that Cap doesn't fill a role that is wanting. For all his strategic prowess, does Fury need a couple of henchmen ninjutsu'd? You've got Widow and the Hawkman? No, not that guy. It's not like any of these chumps replace Cap on their own, but as a team and supplemented by their super buddies, Cap is less significant. Admittedly, the team is a little thin on the ground back at this point. Fury needs all the Avengers he can get his mitts on. But why is this seemingly unqualified captain elected to lead the team? Are we really to believe Tony Stark would bow down so easily? Is Steve really doing anything the authorities couldn't do on the ground? If only Phil had known the truth about his hero.
To be fair to the bloke, he's pretty good at throwing a shield, and using it for sweet assists in combat, and somehow drawing gunfire above the waist only. With the revelation that Chris Evans will be hanging up his star-spangled PJs after Avengers 4, it's likely Steve will bite the dust, or at least the pillow. There are numerous candidates waiting to step in, with the Winter Soldier most likely, which says a lot. If any Tom, Dick or Bucky can fill your booties, how valuable are you among this elite group? There's always Falcon of course, but if Disney really wants to be progressive, they'd make Sharon Carter the next Captain America, aka Cap's other beard. You know what? Scratch that. It's a terrible idea.
In conclusion, we'd say MCU Cap is a street-level guy with little business taking on the likes of Ultron or Thanos. His command of strategy and tactics is at worst unjustified and at best unexplained. Where he should lack the power to oppose extreme forces, he's been amped up beyond credibility to the point where he can take on anyone. But despite this, Steve excels in righteousness. In the end, we need a relatable hero who isn't just the most powerful. In some ways, Cap's return to what he was before the super serum, the eternal underdog. He may not be able to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Thor, but when the chips are down, Captain America will fight to his last breath. He faces the odds and wins, and despite our cynicism, that resonates with people. Captain America shows us we can all be heroes, provided you get some super steroids, an indestructible shield, and presumably a hell of a lot of training.
Thanks for watching, guys. Hope we made you think, hope we made you laugh. And if you'd like to help support this channel, then send us your bank details, social security number, and mother's maiden name. Or you could just like, share, and subscribe, you know.